Hi, Jody Dean here, spiritual coach, and I am going to talk about the new Earth, the Ascension process, the planetary shift in consciousness in this video. So if that intrigues you or interests you, thrills you in some way, then keep watching. And at the end, I'm going to give one example of how I know this in the core of my being. All right, so you may have come across certain information, certain people in the industry, um, in the spiritual awakening, in the personal growth, in the law of attraction, in the consciousness field, talking about the new earth, talking about the ascension process, talking about 5D and the planetary shift in consciousness. And you may be wondering, what is this all about? Is this real? How can I know this to be real? How can I trust that which these people are talking about? Because perhaps you don't have any experience or anything in the physical realm to verify that. It's very difficult perhaps for you to logically verify that. And so then it just stays in the realm of hearsay, of wouldn't it be nice, of fantasy, of fairy tale, of maybe, and that's an interesting idea, but it stays there. And I'm here to tell you that it's the story of my life. So, and I mean that, when I say that, I mean that the confirmation of what this big planetary shift in consciousness is, this new earth, this ascension process, is and has been my life path. So when I was 10 going on 11, I got absolutely obsessed and fascinated with the unexplained. So I read everything I could about it. And then once I'd exhausted the information, I went to the library and I got a whole load of books about metaphysics, about UFOs, about psychic phenomena, about the pyramids, about crop circles, and I dug deeper. And then I got a friend who also was into this stuff and had some books for me to read. And so I read about an energy healer. I read about a guy who went to India and Egypt and had deep mystical experiences. I read about the spiritual properties of and healing properties of herbs and crystals in a couple of volumes of books that are still amazing even today as reference points, all so-called channeled information. And then that just led me down more rabbit holes and fueled my interest further, and then I read further and started reading magazines, anything I could get my hands on, talking to anyone. And then when I was 15, I started going to workshops, expos, festivals, gatherings where people who were interested in this and who were living this were congregating. And I found amazing teachers and guides and mentors. And I just went on from there, really learning different healing modalities, self-awareness disciplines, started meditating, tried plant medicines, and finally, at the age of 22, I went to India. And there my life really changed, because there I was immersed, deeply immersed, in a community of seekers, of meditators, of people who had dedicated their lives to the spiritual journey. And I was in a place where that was reflected back to me all the time, every day. There was no job to go to, right? There was no family gatherings to attend. I was there and I was deep in it. And it was probably the most transformational experience of my life. Certainly the second time I went there, when I was 24, it became that. And I had the most intense and beautiful spiritual awakening. Anyway, I also came across, when I was 18, a metaphysics group that I went to weekly classes with, run by a couple of ladies who were lovely, called Sandy and Jo. And they were sensitives and psychics and healers. And I decided that I was going to read the books that they recommended to me. And so I did. I read them. And that was a lot of ascension information, channeled information about the shifts on the planet, the the new light frequencies coming in, star beings, etc., star family races, Reiki, angels, all that stuff, right? Ancient mysticism, past lives, and it was truly fascinating. And I had direct experiences of that. We would meditate together, and I would feel presences in the room. I saw an angel at one point. It was very, very powerful being in that group of seekers and light workers. And this was particularly around the time that all that information was coming to me, and I was getting some confirmations through consulting an oracle deck, card deck, about this kind of multidimensional activation that's happening on the planet. And I didn't totally understand it because it was still fairly new to me, and I was still trying to integrate all this information. But this is 30 years ago now, and what I've seen happen in the last 30 years just really confirms everything that I was reading then and hearing then about the ascension process, about the shift of consciousness in the earth, the planetary awakening, about the new earth, the 5D. And so I'm here to tell you that this is fully my reality and my belief, and that, for example, look at yoga. Okay, this is an example I love to give, right? 30 years ago, when I first came across yoga and started practicing it, it was a rare thing to find a yoga teacher, to go to a yoga class. It was a rare thing. I actually started practicing tantric yoga, which is a kind of Kundalini-esque kind of yoga, because I met this yoga teacher, and he was the only person offering yoga at this kind of summer gathering. It was very powerful. It's very activational. It was prana activating, so it activate your life force. And I started having a Kundalini awakening when I was 19, due to practicing that yoga form, that yoga style. So that was a whole thing in itself, right? Yes, the kind of the young mystic in urban London having a Kundalini awakening experience, and no one to help him or consult, right? There was no internet back then, so I was fully on my own. Occasionally I would call up that teacher and have a little chat, but that was it, but anyway, I digress. So this ascension talk, this kind of planetary shift information was made available to me, and I was receiving it, and it felt right intuitively. I kind of was like, yeah, this is kind of what I know. And then I found out I was a starseed when I was 18, and found out the place that I was from, the star constellation that that was revealed to me, let's say, in a meditation. And then I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know the name or anything, and it just came to me. And then I find out years later that is an actual place, that is an actual star constellation. So these amazing confirmations happening, and these other people started to be activated, and I started to meet people who were also activated, who were remembering, who were understanding this information, who were decoding it, were downloading information, having insights, and it became more obvious to me that this is going on a global scale, that people are kind of popping and waking up to the greater reality, to the shift in consciousness, and that this is also a kind of cyclic thing. When you start to look back through the ages, the Yugas, right, in the Vedic traditions, in the ancient Indian traditions of the Indian subcontinent, and you start to see that this is actually cyclic. And then also the ancient prophecies from other tribes. I think there's about 30 odd stories, legends, prophecies from different native peoples around the world that talk about this golden age which is upon us. And it's happening, guys. Like, it's actually happening. So yes, back to yoga. One thing I love, an example I love to share, is that back then when I was 17, yoga was rare, super, super rare, right? No one had really practiced it, no one knew about it. but it was something that was in my field because I was interested. Fast forward to today, everyone knows what yoga is. Not everyone has practiced it, but anyone at any time can go and get yoga if they want it, right? Pretty much in the developing world at least, and certainly in India. Sorry, in the developed world, and certainly in India, and pretty much everywhere there is yoga available somewhere, right? Someone teaching it, someone sharing it, and you can go onto YouTube and spend the rest of your life watching yoga videos if you want to. And so it's just this kind of craze, right? You could have said, oh, this is just a trend, it's going to go away, right? Didn't. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now, everyone's daughter is training and wants to be a yoga teacher. And, it's happening and it's growing. And this is so inspiring for me because I've seen this. And this is, yoga really means union. And what is union? It's self-knowing. It's really knowing our true identity, which is the infinite. We're infinite consciousness. And it means going from duality to unity, right? Union, unity. And so this is clear evidence of a shift in consciousness on the planet. And that's just one aspect of this. So there are many more. There are many shifts and changes. If you, for example, look at the hashtag starseeds on TikTok, you can see there are billions and billions of posts about starseeds, right? So just to kind of clarify and contextualize, starseed means that you're seated in the stars. Your soul is seated in the stars, that you came from the stars, from another place, and then you incarnated here into a body on this planet, a bit like Avatar, the film. You took this body on this planet at this time, right? But your kind of true identity or your true origin is from another solar system or another star system, galaxy, whatever, right? Could be. So, just wanted to share that. And if you have starseed experiences, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear anything you have in the comments. Any feedback you have or any stories or anything you'd like to share around the planetary shift in consciousness, about the Ascension, about the 5D and the shift from the 3D to the 5D and the new Earth. Certainly so. Having said that, this is my belief, this is my reality, this is happening, and I see this every day. I'm fully aware of it and becoming more and more obvious. It's like time is speeding up, the veil is thinning. Okay, so it's more possible for everyone and anyone to have experiences, mystical, metaphysical experiences, and everyone is starting to get activated in your DNA, right? These light codes, these light frequencies that the planet is being exposed to. They used to talk about the photon belt. They were talking about that 30 years ago. We're fully in that photon belt now, this higher amplitude light consciousness, light energy that's hitting the planet, and that is activating our DNA, that is activating our latent dormant abilities, and we're waking up. So our multidimensional selves are waking up. Our DNA is the key code for that. And so many of us are having these transcendental experiences, opening up our intuition, having visions, downloads, insights, understanding about the true nature of reality, and having that consciousness activation. So that's all I'm going to say about all of this. Now, the last thing, when I was doing my rebirthing breathwork training back 15 years ago now, or more, oh my goodness, and I was in water, in literally a hot tub. I was being held by two breathwork facilitators, breathing through a tube, which was a snorkel, underwater, and I was transported immediately to another star system. I knew it to be Sirius at the time, and I met soul family. And this earth life, this body, this 3D body, was just a fragment of my consciousness, very far away. I was expansion, I was unity, I was oneness itself. So that was clear to me, like this is just a hologram. And so I wanted to share that. Anyway, I hope you've been, find this video helpful. Jody Dean, spiritual coach. If you need help, please hit me up, and love you. Please comment, and see you in the next video. Okay, bye for now.